Good morning and welcome to the 445 Productive Through Joy show with your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. The show airs each weekday morning, hella early. Early AF at 4:45 a.m. here on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel, then 4:45 p.m. on Facebook Live. Guys, today we're talking about attitude, as in the right mental attitude. Is it about, as in how you go about approaching problems, success, victories, challenges, life itself, with an attitude that can be productive for you. So thanks for joining us here. If you are new, you can go to productivethroughjoy.com to see about us. We speak to groups, schools, and organizations about being productive through joy, right? Allow me also to say a few words about myself by way of introduction. This is your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher, author of the New York Times bestseller Raising Fences, author of the acclaimed historical novel Americas, author of the Pulitzer Prize nominated animating Black and Brown Liberation. My educational background is UC Berkeley as an undergraduate, my master's from UCLA, and my PhD in English literature from the University of California at Riverside. I am currently the board president of a great nonprofit here in Los Angeles called The World Stage. Guys, I'm an expert at being productive, all right? I don't say that to brag or boast. I say it because people are oftentimes surprised to hear that level of productivity given my crazy background. I am the product of a young girl, really, who was assaulted at age 16, gave birth to me at 17, and subsequently gave me up for adoption to an amazing single divorcee. So at the time, no biological father, no adopted father. Listen, difficult times for the young MD, yet it's cool. Modi famously said, "How you like me now?" Right? And if I can be this productive and be this productive through joy, I know many people can. I know it in our own ways, in our own lanes, of course. But I'm a believer. So that is what really inspires this show, because I know it's not where you're from, it's where you're about to go. So thank you for joining us this morning. Let's dive in. So we're talking today, guys, about what we're going to define as the right mental attitude, or a right mental attitude. So what does that mean? I don't like to use terms like right or wrong as if there's only one way to do things, but I'll call it a right mental attitude, a right mental attitude. And probably in vernacular pop culture, you may have heard it defined or expressed in the following way. A positive mental attitude, or having a can-do attitude, right? Those are just different ways to express this idea that I'm talking about now. We all know people who have that attitude. They seem to things seem to go their way. Things seem to go their way. They kind of believe they can do pretty much anything. We may be a little bit jealous or a little resistant, or they think they're just kind of arrogant. But, it pretty much works out for them. And then in contradistinction, we know people who just hella negative, to keep things in the vernacular. Always talking bad about people, bad about situations, what's not going to happen, why they can't do it, why you can't do it, why someone else should be doing something. We know those types of people. Maybe that's you, to keep it real. And if it is, not judging, just saying you want to look at that and see how that's working out for you. And so we've experienced people on both ends of the spectrum in that regard. And so we want to decide, which is point two, how we want to approach attitude, right? What type of attitude we want to have. I know, listen, as a professor, I'm around lots of 20-something-year-old people. And not that it's only folks in their 20s, certainly not who can be critical or persnickety, because certainly a lot of old people are that way as well. Because once you've been through a series of disappointments, heartbreaks, whatever, I know I've been through plenty of those, it can definitely impact your worldview and make you bitter as, I can't even think of a thing bitter enough to compare that attitude to, but I get it. And again, not judging, that's just how life goes for many, many, many people. However, you can make a choice, and that's the rub. It's where the rub is, where the hard part is. Because the choice is a conscious decision to have I'll just call it a right in a attitude, a can-do attitude, even though the circumstances may not seem favorable to you, or even though people who you may tell about this, your ideas or aspirations, may not be real supportive, or may laugh at you or attack you or critique you in ways that are pretty harsh. I've also been through lots of that, that's for sure. Lots of non-believers in the MD's life. And some believers too. I don't want to make it seem like it's been all non-believers, but definitely when you're on the edge there, when you're going for it, you're gonna attract some haters. If not haters, at least non-believers. At times, those who are even in your own family or those who are closest to you. And those people many times are just afraid that you are afraid for you because you're not taking a more traditional route, which we all get that. If you're a parent, you understand that as well. But the end result is pretty much the same, not that much support when you're trying to go big. So when you make a decision to have a right mental attitude, meaning I'm going to do this thing, that is a daily attitude that one has to daily restate to oneself. But how do you keep that going? Because it just can't be like, oh, I'm going to do it, some pie in the sky type thing. So what allows, I think, people who are effective at having the right mental attitude, which leads to their effectiveness, to have that situation is when they do the work, the daily work of undergirding the self. If you know the show, you've heard that phrase many times because that's super important part of this lifestyle. It's because you just can't, I mean, I guess you probably could just say, oh, I'm going to have a positive mental attitude, but you might not even believe that yourself, or it may be fake, right? You want to be able to actually say that and believe that with deep conviction, because the more conviction you have, the more the right mental attitude will serve you. Right. So how do you do that? Well, if you know the show, we talk a lot about meditation, about ritual, about doing things, daily and around the same time, but it's meditating, running, yoga, those are things that I do. I'm laughing because I just, this is not easy. At times this past, it's holidays, so I'm a little more flexible with myself typically during the holidays, but generally it's just I have a pretty challenging schedule. And not that one needs to follow my schedule at all. But, I do have a series of morning rituals, things I do in the morning, and it's pretty intense, and it can be exhausting. But that's what allows me to prepare myself, to undergird myself, to have the right mental attitude to do what needs to be done. I'm investing in myself. That's the thing, and that's what is the last point, is that this right mental attitude, this undergirding of the self, which is important at supporting the right mental attitude, it is the idea that you are investing time, energy, belief, struggle at times, stick-to-itiveness, persistence, all in yourself, that you may be able to serve your family, friends, and community with more effectiveness. All right. So boom goes the dynamite. That's all we have for today's show. We'll see you, let's see when. We'll see you this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. Until then, let's talk about it and be about it. Deuces.